welcome on in to another episode of Getting Well with Terry and Friends, NHL Preview Show edition. We are ready to break down one of the more interesting teams in this division, I think, and that's the Vegas Golden Knights. We will pretty much just jump right into them here, and we'll start same kind of breakdown that we've been doing here, same kind of layout, and we'll start with additions and subtractions for the Vegas Golden Knights. Additions. Shea Weber going to lead Vegas to the Cup. No, that was obviously a salary cap move there. Michael Hutchinson, goaltending. And then recently in the last couple of days, Vegas signed Phil Kessel. Subtractions. Evgeny Dodonov, Matthias Janmark, Max Pacioretty, and Dylan Coughlin. So 4 subtractions that I think are going to really affect this team. I think their offense is going to take a hit from this. Dylan Coughlin maybe is not going to have that much of an impact, but I think losing Pacioretty, Dadonov, and Janmark is going to have an effect on Vegas this year. Adding Phil Kessel obviously is going to help soften the blow a bit, but so far, Vegas hasn't really done a whole lot this offseason. They do have some cap space available due to their goaltending injury, which we'll get to in a bit. So they do have about $4.7 million that they could go and get something else, someone else. But I think a goaltender and maybe another top 6 forward could be, or a top 9 forward for Vegas would be my thoughts. As good a good addition for them to make still here in this offseason. We'll go to Nick first on this one, additions, subtractions. What do you think here for Vegas?
Yeah, we knew the subtractions were going to happen because of cap space. Pietrangelo, or my bad, Pacioretty, losing him. I mean, doesn't seem as bad anymore now that he's going to be out a few months. So it's not like you would probably had him for the season anyway. But yeah, losing Dadonov, Janmark, Coughlin, that is a little bit of their depth there. But I still think on paper that they have depth and they have decent pieces here. And then for the additions, other than Phil Kessel, I don't think we're going to see any impact from the other two. Shea Weber was more of a taking that's a long-term IR type of thing where that's not going to have any impact on them. And then Hutchinson's their third string goaltender. So Kessel is a nice little fourth liner. That's probably just about it. And then we did expect some subtractions, but I think they still got the personnel there to be decent. So the subtractions hurt a little bit, but I don't think it was too crazy.
All right. I think Michael Hutchinson could see some, if we see things stay as they are right now. I think it's possible Michael Hutchinson could find himself in the lineup if there's an injury to one of the top 2 guys. I think Michael Hutchinson could possibly get some playing time here at Vegas if they don't make any moves, but we'll have to see. Ian, additions, subtractions, not a whole lot here for Vegas this offseason so far. What do you think about what they've done?
Yeah, well, obviously Donov had to go because of the cap issues that were so bad and so poorly managed by Kelly McCrimmon, the GM here, that they basically traded away Pacioretty for nothing. And it's absolute disgrace that they didn't get anything back in return because they were just so badly up against it from a salary cap perspective. So this has been poorly managed here the last couple of years for Vegas. And as a result, they've been obviously a cap-strained hockey team. You can just see Stanley Cup written all over this team when you bring in the near 40-year-old Shea Weber and a shot Phil Kessel as your big 2 additions, and Michael Hutchinson, who's been a below-average goalie. So you can bring them the Stanley Cup now with those 3 joining the team. But look, Hutchinson's going to be a depth goalie. You may not even see the crease at all with the big club. He might be a Henderson Silver Knight more than he's a Vegas Golden Knight this year. Weber ain't going to see it much of playing time, if at all. It's done for him. Phil Kessel, look, his best days are way behind him. I mean, I'm honestly shocked that Vegas even bothered. I mean, yeah, was Phil Kessel not motivated? Yeah, you could say that. He's been on a bad Arizona team 3 years in a row. But still, this is a guy that's been 30-goal scorer, multiple seasons in the NHL. You got 8 goals out of him. last year. That's it. 8 goals and 82. He didn't miss a game. He was actually fully healthy. Even at 34 years old now, he didn't miss a game last year, but he only gave you 8 goals, minus 24 and plus minus. He's never been a guy that you can rely on away from the puck. I mean, he's lazy penalties. He's not a back-checking forward. He's a one-dimensional player. He really always has been. He scores for you, or he doesn't do much for you other than that. And he's not even doing that for you right now because he only had 8 goals. So I'm not big on the Phil Kessel signing, even though it was only a 1-year contract. So big thumbs down for me with what Vegas has done, quite honestly, with ads and subs.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to see when Kessel retires if he joins that that hot dog eating contest. I don't know exactly.
That's a little bit over-exaggerated, by the way, that he's a big hot dog guy.
It is?
Steve Simmons. That was a hit piece done by Steve Simmons, who's an absolute jackass of all jackasses in sports media. I've ranted about him before, and that's a little over-exaggerated what happened there, especially the hot dog story. There's some false stuff there where the hot dog vendor was not actually right outside his apartment. It was halfway across the city. There's no way Phil Kessel's trekking halfway across Toronto just for a lousy hot dog. That was made up, trumped up story by Steve Simmons, which he's done before.
Well,
just doesn't like
you for letting me know that.
He just doesn't like the guy, and he put it in written form, and it was shameful what he did.
Yeah, that's
I'm not a big Phil Kessel guy, but that was ludicrous. That whole story, that whole situation.
Yeah, you can't be making up lies.
No.
Yeah. Also, one addition we did not mention for the Vegas Golden Knights is Bruce Cassidy as their new head coach, which I think is a huge plus. I think that was.
That's the one that gets the thumbs up. Bruce Cassidy, who got blackballed in Boston, essentially.
Yep.
Blamed for all the problems when none of it was his fault. None.
Yeah, like Ian said earlier, I'm completely agree that this organization is not run very well, really whatsoever. Yeah. But Bruce Cassidy will be a good addition to the team. I definitely agree with that. Looking at their top prospects, upcoming free agents in the current cap situation, as I said, they do have a little bit under $5 million in cap space with the LTIR contracts, and then prospect-wise, not too bad. They actually have some two good defenseman prospects, especially Lucas Cormier coming on the way. Brendan Bryson seems to be their best forward prospect as well. That can play center or wing. He can play different positions. And then if you look at the upcoming free agents for Vegas, Laurent Brossoit and Michael Hutchinson, both upcoming free agents. Phil Kessel only signed that 1-year deal. And then Patrick Nolan, Brett Howden, both RFAs after this year. So most of Vegas's most of their team will be intact after this upcoming season. Nothing crazy happening here. I could see Laurent Brossoit leaving. I could see Hutchinson and Kessel leaving. And then the RFAs, I'd expect them to try to keep both of them on cheap contracts, but you never really know. But overall, a couple good prospects coming. But Vegas definitely not one of the top prospect teams in the NHL. Like I said, they haven't really been run very well as a team, in my opinion. So definitely still some work to do. We'll go to Ian first on this one. What do you think prospects and upcoming free agents?
It's definitely a team that's a bottom 10 in the prospect pool. It might even be bottom 5. And it's not shocking to see why. They've traded away so many prospects, so many draft picks over the years to stock up, to load up, to bring in a Pacioretty, to bring in Mark Stone at the deadline, to bring in all these players to make them cup contenders, and teams that have been buying at the deadline and loading up for a cup run for multiple years in a row. Surprise, surprise, they're not going to have very deep prospect pools, and that's what we see here with the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, there's no doubt Lucas Cormier, who's got the potential to be a great offensive defenseman at this level, is probably one of the brightest prospects, and Brendan Bryson as well, who could slot in as the number 2 center one day on this team behind Jack Eichel. And look, they had an issue at the number 1 center spot for years. The hope is that someone who's gotten a lot of criticism from me, Jack Eichel, for just not stepping up in the big moments. The hope is that he's healthier now entering this season. The hope is that a full training camp with this new team, the Vegas Golden Knights, helps him out and maybe coached up a little bit better under Bruce Cassidy. Maybe can become better defensively as well, because I still think Jack Eichel could work on his defensive game a little bit as well. And hopefully that happens with a guy like Cassidy. Make sure his players are aware of how they play without the puck. So that's the hope there. But as far as the prospect pool goes, kind of like the team we talked about, I believe, yesterday, San Jose. It's like they ignored the blue line because they really, outside of Cormier and Korchak there, they don't have a lot of high-end, high blue-chip level defensive prospects or prospects overall beyond Cormier and Bryson. So that's what you worry about. It's not a deep prospect pool. As far as free agents go, Laurent Brossoit is probably gone after this year because they got, certainly Logan Thompson. There's other goalies that are in this organization right now that probably won't make it a priority to re-sign Laurent Brossoit. Hutchinson, same thing. Kessel's one and done. I can't imagine them for the life of me bringing him back after this year. So it's probably a bunch of free agents on that list that maybe there's some interest in trying to get Brett Howden done, because Brett Howden was a guy that did contribute a little bit for Vegas last year. Actually played pretty solid at times, especially when they were just mangled with injuries. At one point last year, Howden got more ice time, and he actually took advantage of it. That's the one guy in the free agent list they might try to keep.
All right, unless we see Phil Kessel turn back time and get back to that 30-goal score.
We'll bet the no with that.
Yeah, exactly. Nick, what do you think here with the prospect? I know you don't really follow prospects that much, but what do you think about upcoming free agents and a cap situation?
Yeah, one thing that really popped out to me here is when we look at the upcoming free agents, it's none of their core guys. One thing that we can give props to with the Vegas Golden Knights is their core. They have signed down for a long time. They have Smith for another 3 years. They have another 5 years of Stone. They have another 5 years of Carlson. They have another 4 years of Eichel. They got another 5 years of Pietrangelo. They got another 2 years of Martinez, another 3 years of Theodore. So one thing that I'm seeing is that they're going to have this core together for a little bit. And yeah, they'll probably try to re-sign Howden or maybe Nolan Patrick. I think the UFAs are gone after this year. And their cap space is the biggest trouble of this team. But when you're fielding Laurent Brossoit and Logan Thompson as your two goaltenders, you can afford to spend up on forwards and defensemen, because they're only putting in $3 million worth of goalies this year. Laurent Brossoit, it's going to be interesting to see how they replace him with an affordable goalie, because he's only taking a $2.3 million cap hit. So that's the one thing that really pops out to me, is that other than like Howden, which I think they'll bring back, it's a lot of their core that's not on this list, which I think is a positive rather than who is on this list.
All right. And yeah, we'll take a look at that core here coming up. And we will look at the possible lineup that I have here for Vegas. Top line, Eichel, Stone, Marchessault. Second line, Carlson, Smith, Stevenson. Top six, looking good. But when we look at the bottom six, Brett Howden, Phil Kessel, William Carrier, Nicholas Waugh, Nolan Patrick, if he gets healthy there, Keegan Colasar, Leschyshyn, Amadio, kind of there as possible fourth liners or maybe even third liners as well. We'll have to see. The top six looks good, but the bottom six doesn't, in my opinion, here for Vegas. Looking at the defensemen, Martinez, Pietrangelo, McNabb, Theodore, Hudden, Whitecloud, Nicholas Hague, currently at RFA that hasn't been signed, but he's also hurt. I'm sure they'll get something done. But looking at defense, Vegas does have a pretty good defense. And that's the one solid part. And then we kind of look at goaltending, Laurent Brossoit, Logan Thompson, Michael Hutchinson. So for me, with this team, they're going to need good goaltending. They're going to need better than average goaltending to make the playoffs, because I don't see a whole lot of offense outside that top six. And if there's good defensive teams that are able to shut down that top six, I think Vegas could be in trouble here offensively. And then goaltending wise, they're going to need Logan Thompson is a goaltender I do like. I drafted him in some of my fantasy league teams previously a few years ago. I do think he is going to be a good NHL goalie, but I don't know if he's ready now. to make this team or to be the starting goalie in this team. So I'm not quite sure. Goaltending a question mark. Defense pretty good. Top 6 good. Bottom 6 not so much in my opinion. Ian, what do you think here about the possible lineup for Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, there's some question marks. It's going to be, you're right about them offensively last year, the Vegas Golden Knights, that really the reason why they missed the playoffs is very simple to see. They didn't get the goaltending they got 2 years ago when Fleury was there. Leonard was a disappointment, and then he got hurt. And then you were bouncing around with Brossois, who was inconsistent, and Logan Thompson had some great moments, some really great moments, but he also had some shaky moments, and it was just the goaltending declined. The defensive game declined. I mean, the defense was terrific 2 years ago, and all of a sudden they're 15th in the league in goals per game allowed last year. It was a drop for Vegas. It was also a drop offensively. I mean, they're a middle of the pack team, really, offensively and defensively. Goals per game, goals allowed per game last year. So really, there's question marks both ways, but I think the blue line still, you got to think this is going to be an above average defensive team. If Martinez, Pietrangelo, McNabb, Shea Theodore, those guys are all in there and healthy. I mean, that can still be a pretty good, solid, sound defensive team in their own end, do a decent job in front of their goaltender to keep the puck out of the net, regardless of whether it's Thompson or Brossois. I think the key is going to be Eichel, and I hate to center it all around him, but he's going to have to be the catalyst now. You don't have Pacioretty. You're now centering the line with Stone. Do they maybe move Marchessault up as it's on your depth chart? I think that's the most likely scenario, that we're going to see an Eichel, Stone, Marchessault top line, a Carlson, Smith, and then you decide, do you want to go with, do you have the trust in Kessel to play a top 6 forward role at this stage of his career? I don't. Do you move Will Carrier up there? Do you put Brett Howden up there? I mean, you could go a bunch of different ways in terms of who's going to be up there. Do you move Stevenson, who's a natural center, over to wing? I mean, there's all kinds of decisions and that's Bruce Cassidy's job. That's not Ian Cameron's job to figure that out. But Bruce Cassidy, is one of those coaches that usually will do a decent job of tinkering with the lineup, seeing what will be the best fit for his hockey team. So it's really going to be a matter of, can the cohesion and the chemistry arrive? But Terry hit it on the head here with the bottom 6. I mean, Phil Kessel gave you 8 goals last year. He'd better give you more than that if they're going to get anything from the third and the fourth line offensively. Nicholas Waugh is someone I think I've got some faith in him being someone that can contribute offensively in a third line center role. He had 39 points last year, 15 goals, 24 assists. A big jump from 2020, so maybe he can even increase his production even more. That would certainly go a long way to help this, mediocre offense that Vegas might have next year. And then you're going to have the likes of Amadio, Lasician, Keegan Colasar, you name it, bouncing around the fourth line. So it's going to be tough. I mean, it's exactly right. If they don't get the top 6 scoring for them consistently, then finding the back of the net's going to be tough. It's been another setback for them, too. Not only the mismanaged salary cap, them trading away all kinds of players now because they've been up against it from a cap perspective. Dodonov, say what you will about how they had to get rid of him, but he was a huge offensive force for them last year. We know how good Pacioretty was. Had to get rid of both of them because they're up against the cap. But they were also set back, Vegas, by the Nolan Patrick issue. I mean, this is a guy that was a first-round pick. He was the Vegas took a shot thinking maybe he could stay healthy, get his career back on track, and it's the same old problems for Nolan Patrick. Another year where he's probably going to be on long-term injured reserve, and now there's talk that he may not even play next year. Nolan Patrick may not even get to a point where he's even able to continue his career because he's dealt with so many traumatic head injuries and concussions in his career. Very unfortunate, but that's also set Vegas back offensively. It's not just Pacioretty's gone. It's not just Dodonov's gone, and you've left your bottom 6 very depth shy. It's that you also brought in this guy that's a first-round talent in Nolan Patrick's got the capability to be that if he's healthy, and he just can't stay on the ice, can't stay healthy. And at this point, unfortunately for him, it's a sad, sad story. We're wondering if we're going to see him play again.
All right, I have him on here. So, yeah, it's a good thing that I don't get paid to make the lineups because Vegas would be in trouble here. But, yeah, that's unfortunate. I think they need every light they can get in the bottom.
My questions definitely with this team are greater on the offensive end than they are on the defensive end because I actually do think Logan Thompson could be a solid goalie at this level.
For sure. Nick, what do you think about Vegas's possible lineup here?
I think on paper, this lineup is one of, I think, probably the biggest wide range of outcomes possible, like in the NHL. Because I can see this Vegas Golden Knights team being a cup contender, and I can see them missing the playoffs. Their floor is really low, and their ceiling is really high. And here's the thing that was the problem with this team last year. It's not, their defense dropped off. That's going to happen when you get all of 2 defensemen that were able to play at least 60 games last year. Because you got McNabb for 69 games, and then you had Theodore 78 and Pietrangelo 80. But after that, White Cloud only played 59. Nicholas Hague only played 52. Alec Martinez, which is supposed to be one of your bigger top line guys, he only played 26 games last year. So this team was ravaged with injuries, which I think as long as this team stays healthy, this lineup stays healthy, this is a top team in the NHL. This is a playoff contender like we've seen previous years before last year when they started falling apart. When you are expecting big things and you get 37 games out of your captain, that's a problem. So this is a spot here where looking at the Vegas Golden Knights lineup, this is a all or nothing type of team. This is a boom or bust team by the very definition of it. So I think there will be value in trying to play some of their futures if you can get really good prices on it, which we'll get to in the next segment here. But overall, this lineup, if they can stay healthy, they can be a top 10 team in the NHL. But if they don't, they can do what they did last year.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
I'm halfway on board with that assessment. I think top 10 defense for sure. You can't look at that blue line and tell me that if they don't stay healthy, that's not a top 10 blue line with White Cloud, Pietrangelo,
with the amount of money.
Yeah.
With the amount of the money they spent on this blue line, that should be a top blue line because they spend almost a little bit more than half of what they spend on forwards that they do on defensemen between their top 6 guys.
Yep. It's the offense, and it's the depth in the offense. And it's Jack Eichel scoring a big goal when I need it. It's great that he scores a goal when they're up 4-1 in the third period against Arizona. Can I get a goal when it's 2-2, when you need 2 points badly against a Calgary or an Edmonton or something like that? A big team, a big important game, and I can get a big goal from what's supposed to be a big-time player. Can I get that from Jack this year? I didn't get it. I got Jack from Jack last year in big games down the stretch. What did he do when they needed points desperately to get in the playoffs?
This Vegas Golden Knights team was not good down the stretch last year. But when you look at the lack of offense that you would say you might get from the bottom pairings here, I think they make up with that lack of offense from their bottom 6 with how offensively minded their defensemen are. Pietrangelo is an offensive-minded defenseman. Theodore's the same. Like, they can get goals from their blue line as well, and they can get points from their blue line, which I think can make up for their depth a little bit. But once again, they have to stay healthy.
Yep.
I just noticed that I did not add a couple futures here to their.
And that includes Eichel. Eichel, Stone had injuries last year. He's got to stay healthy up front.
Eichel only played 34 games last year. Yep. Stone played 37. They got 47 from Howden. They only got 56 from Riley Smith. White Cloud got him 59. Only one player got into the 80 games, and that was Pietrangelo. Other than that, everybody else did not hit that 80 game mark.
No.
That's the thing with injuries. We just don't know who's going to get injured and who's not. And obviously,
they're now at the point where their core guys are now more in their early mid 30s, more than they're in their mid 20s. So that's something to watch out for. That injury bug.
Yeah, Richie says he's not a Knights fan. So we'll go on here to the last 5 years and their futures. So Vegas has been around for 5 years now.
Wow.
This will be their 6th season. Their first year, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they were the runner-up, 109 points. Their best season was their first year. They followed that up with a first-round exit, 2018-2019. Went to the conference finals, 2019-2020. A second-round exit in 2020-21. And then last year, missed the playoffs for the first time in their history. And now you look, and their point total is 97.5, 94 last year, 80s, and the 56-game season and the 71-game season. So Vegas has yet to have a season where they finished below 80 points. Not many teams can say that. Obviously, they've only been around 5 years here, but 94 points last year, 97.5, minus 110 each way for their point total this year. That's a tough one for me. Vegas is a tough team because, like Nick said, they could either be pretty good. I don't think with their offense that they're going to be a cup contender. They would have to have everything go right, have stellar goaltending, and get a lot of depth scoring from guys that haven't shown it yet.
That's any cup run in general, though. You're going to need that from everybody.
Yeah. Vegas would just need everything to go right to have a chance.
But there are greater question marks with this team maybe than others, with depth of offense, with defense, and staying healthy, and goaltending, and all that. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So to make the playoffs, minus 260. To miss the playoffs, plus 200. That's a very interesting price. Plus 425 to win the division. Plus 2,000 to win the Stanley Cup. I don't have any futures bet for Vegas. I don't have any NHL futures bet at all. I'll be clear on that yet. And I don't really have too much of an opinion here with futures when it comes to Vegas because I think they're a really tough team to gauge at this point. If I had to bet anything, it would probably be Vegas to miss the playoffs at plus 200 because I'm not high on this team. I think there are better teams in this division. And I think obviously Vegas is going to be in the Western Conference, but I think it's the Western Conference is a tough conference. Both are, but I think Vegas is in a tough spot here, and I think plus 200 to miss the playoffs. If I was going to bet anything here, that's what it would be to miss the playoffs here for the second year in a row. Nick, we'll go to you first this time. What do you think here? Last 5 years and the futures for Vegas.
I mean, yeah, this has been a successful franchise that up until last year, and they were a good team last year. If they weren't hurt, they would have been in the playoffs. I truly believe that they were a 100-plus point team last year if Stone stayed healthy and if they had more from Eichel and they had more from Martinez. This team, I think, yeah, they lost a couple pieces, but I think it's addition by them getting healthy. They didn't really need to go out and add anybody because their hopes is they get a full season from Stone. They get a full season from Eichel this year. They get a full season from Martinez. And they get these players to play 80 games, 75 games. So I don't know if I would bet the point total. If I'd probably bet it over because I think I'm higher on this Vegas Golden Knights team than most. And if I had to bet any on that futures list, I'll take $4 or $4.25 for them to win the division. I think that this team takes a big step up this year, and just in implied odds alone, I think they win. I think they can win this division enough over long term, whatever. If you do projections and stuff, I think they win the division enough to pay off a plus 425 price tag. And this is a big boomer bust team, and if they boom, they easily win this division. I think that I still am hesitant on Edmonton with their to win the division. Calgary, we'll see because they had some moves. It's still Daryl Sutter in that team, so I think that Vegas and Calgary will fight for the top two spots. And at plus 425, I think there is value in Vegas here to win the division. To win the cup, no, I don't think their goaltending is good enough to win the cup. But to win the regular season, to win a division, why not? I think this team, 94 points when they had half their team gone with injuries, felt like the whole year. Yeah, I think that they take a step up this year. They're a 100-point team, and they can win this division. So I would look towards the over. I would look towards them to win the division. That's probably where I would go for here.
All right. Well, me and Nick tend to disagree, and here's a perfect spot for it, but it's great. It's obviously great to have good different opinions.
Yep.
That's just the dynamic of the Vegas Golden Knights is we can easily agree, and both our views can be right because they can boom or they can bust because there's two outcomes for them. They make the conference finals or they miss the playoffs. That's what I truly think about this team.
Yep. Ian, monkey in the middle. What do you think here?
Right.
What do you think here?
So I'm higher on bust than boom, but I'm not totally outright ruling out a boom for Vegas. That's the thing. I mean, I'm very tempted by the no to miss the playoffs. Or to make the playoffs no at plus 200. The only thing I'm holding me back on betting that right now is my respect for Bruce Cassidy, and because I think they're going to be so much better coach than DeBoer, who DeBoer just didn't do a good job down the stretch, and he lost his composure at times with the media. down the stretch, and it wasn't a good scene. And could he get his team to elevate at the right time? He could not. I think Cassidy's going to have a better job of doing that. I'm going to read the tea leaves with this group. I want to see what the vibe's like in training camp. I want to see what Eichel looks like. Does he look comfortable? Is he ripping it up in preseason? All of those things are going to go to deter, because this is a decision I'm going to end up making like the day before the season starts, type of thing with the Vegas Golden Knights in terms of their point total over under, or whether to make the playoffs or not. But if I see there's things looking off the rails already in training camp, then I might be more interested in the no, to make the playoffs, no plus 200. So, but right now I'm skeptics. I'm one of these skeptics when it comes to Vegas. Jack Eichel's got to be healthy. Stone has to be healthy. Blue line's got to stay healthy. Eichel's also got to show he can step up in big moments. He's got a propensity for getting the hat tricks and having the 4-point games when they're up comfortably or they're playing a weaker team. I need to see him do this against big teams, big games. And he didn't do that enough last year. Now, the last time we saw, and that's why I think this team's going to go with Eichel staying healthy and playing like he did the last time. 2 times we saw him play a full season or close to a full season. And I will hearken back with that to 2018 and 19 with Buffalo. It's the last time we got close to a full season of Jack Eichel. In 2018 in Buffalo, he had 82 points in 77 games. In 2019 with Buffalo, he had 78 points in 68 games. Those are tremendous seasons. There's no question. That's the Eichel Vegas needs. And especially when we've got questions about where's the third line offense, where's the fourth line offense, where is it going to come from outside of the top 6? This is where you need the guy you went out and cost yourself a fortune to get in terms of draft picks and prospects. You wonder why your prospect pool is shit? You wonder why, you don't have much in the cupboard? It's because you went after a guy like Jack Eichel. That's why. And you've got to get the return on that investment now. It means a full season. It means scoring big goals in big games, which you didn't do last year. It means staying healthy, and it means giving me something, maybe not that exact production we saw in 2018 and 19 with Buffalo, but give me something close. Give me at least a point per game Jack Eichel this year, and all of a sudden Vegas's playoff chances, let alone contending chances, go up exponentially. That is how significant I think this one player is to the Vegas season being a good one or not.
Yeah, I think what Eichel the word that you need to describe him, what he needs to do is clutch. He needs to be clutch at times when Vegas needs it. I think that's.
There's a bunch of players in their career been like that. They're piling on the goals in a 6-1 blowout against Arizona or Chicago, or one of these weak teams in the league. But when it comes time, you're 2-2 with a Calgary or an Edmonton or a St. Louis, Colorado, and it is a close game, and I need a game breaker. I need a game-changing moment and play. Is Jack Eichel's not always delivered in those spots. That's got to change this year. Maybe it's harsh, but I've seen this guy play now for 5 years, and that's how I see it. And I'm a Buffalo Sabres fan, and I saw it, as well there. Even in the seasons, he was piling up the points. Big moments here, he's got to bear down and really deliver the goods in those spots.
Well, he's clearly their top line center.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's paid to be their top line center. He's their top line center. So that's a big job being a top line
center. They gave
up
Peyton Krebs, who's going to be one hell of a player, I think.
And Alex Tuck.
And Alex Tuck, who's already an established good top 6 forward in the National Hockey League for years, to get Jack Eichel. It's time to get a return on your investment. And that's going to fall on Jack.
They're in win now mode, and it's crazy to think that this Vegas team is only 1 year removed from winning the President's Cup or President's Trophy in that 2020 year.
Yeah. We do have a little bit of time here. Ian won't be on Sunday's show when we are talking about the Seattle Kraken, so I thought I'd open the floor here. If you wanted to give some thoughts here on Seattle, Ian, go right ahead.
Yeah, just briefly on Seattle. I mean, we saved the most of it for the show, so I'll just be quick here. I think down the middle is where they're going to be much improved. The center ice position. I mean, they've got incredible depth there now. Matty Beniers is going to be a big-time center. They draft Shane Wright, of course, who fell into their lap and put the 4th overall pick. They already have Ryan Donato and Yanni Gord as well, who's a very capable center. Stanley Cup experience with Tampa, of course. I mean, they're really going to be good down the – and you give me a team that's got depth at the center ice position, you got a team that's going to make inroads next year. I think there's a lot of potential with them down the middle. You look at what they added, Oliver Bjorkstrand. I'm shocked they got him and didn't have to give up more to get Oliver Bjorkstrand from the Columbus Blue Jackets, who was a guy that had a good offensive season for them last year. You have Schwartz. You have, hopefully he stays healthy, Jordan Eberle. Andre Burakovsky, they get him from the Colorado Avalanche. Streaky as fuck, but he's a guy that can get it rolling. He can go 8 games without a goal, and he can go 8 straight games with a goal. So that's Andre Burakovsky, but at least it gives you another offense. And you need offense. They had trouble scoring goals last year, no question about that. The blue line, I still worry about, the depth on that blue line. With it falls off a little bit once you get down to Carson Soucy, Will Borgen, Cale Fleury, guys like that. But Vince Dunn, Adam Larson, Oleksiak, Justin Schultz is not bad in terms of the top 4. And really, throw out Martin Jones. I don't know why they were so interested in Martin Jones, but he's here anyway. But Philip Grubauer.
That's the trophy right there. That's your Vezina Trophy winner.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Philip Grubauer, we know there's a better goalie in him than we saw last year. I think coming from Colorado, he realized a weaker team in front of him. It was an adjustment, and it wasn't a good adjustment. It was a rocky one, but he had a tough season. I think there's better in Philip Grubauer, and he's going to have to be. You're going to have a really rough season if Philip Grubauer doesn't rebound in between the pipes for Seattle. But to me, no, I think this team certainly better than last year on paper, probably a little bit more profitable. You will be backing Seattle, particularly in an underdog role. Do they make the playoffs? No, probably not. The division's just too tough, but they will be an improved hockey team.
Yeah, I actually totally 100% agree. The only thing I'll say, because we will be doing a show on Sunday, but overs. I think overs are going to be really good with this team.
They're going to have value because last year they couldn't put a puck in the ocean half the time. And now they've got depth at center. You bring in a Burakovsky, you bring in an Oliver Bjorkstrand. These are bona fide guys, goal scorers that have scored 20, 30 goals in this league before. Seattle didn't have as much of those guys last year. So they are improved offensively. I agree with that.
For sure. And that's today's show. So thank you, everybody, for watching. If you haven't watched, we've already done San Jose, Anaheim, and the Kings. So make sure to tune into those. No hockey preview show tomorrow. We'll be back Sunday with Seattle, back on Monday with Calgary, and continue on going down the list. But make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit the like button if you like the content. We appreciate all the support. And we will see you again. Have a good one, guys.